You don't get to choose when the business has to run without you. Most conversations about exiting a business start from a comfortable assumption that you'll get to choose the moment. Wind down gradually, sell when the market's strong, step back once the kids are settled or the mortgage is paid off, plan it, time it, control it. New Australian research suggests that assumption doesn't hold up nearly as often as owners think. 4 in 10 small business owners have already experienced a sudden, unplanned departure from a previous business through health crises, financial pressure, burnout, or market shifts they didn't see coming. Not a chosen exit, a forced one. That statistic sits alongside a second one that makes it worse. Nearly 1 in 3 Australian small business owners plan to retire within the next 5 years, and of those, only 16% have a documented succession plan. Close to half of all owners considering an exit have no succession or sale plan whatsoever. 1 in 4 haven't even thought about what happens to the business when they leave. And among those actively planning to retire, 1 in 5 haven't discussed their exit with a single person. Not a partner, not staff, not an accountant, not anyone. Read those together and a different picture forms. Most owners are planning for an exit they expect to control, while a meaningful share of them will actually experience one they don't. Why eventually isn't a plan. There's a quiet, reasonable sounding logic that keeps a lot of owners from doing anything about this. I'll sort it out when I'm closer to actually leaving. The problem is that logic assumes the business gets to decide when closer to leaving arrives, and the research says otherwise. Health doesn't wait for a convenient year. Burnout doesn't announce itself in advance. A key client leaving, a supply shock, a family emergency, none of these check your 5-year plan before they happen. This isn't a case for panic. It's a case for treating exit readiness as an ongoing condition of the business, not a project you start 18 months before you think you'll need it. The real question isn't when will I go, it's what happens if I have to tomorrow. Here's a version of the exercise worth actually doing, not just reading about. Imagine you're gone for 6 weeks starting tomorrow. No laptop, no phone, no check-ins. What happens? For a lot of owners, the honest answer is uncomfortable. Quotes don't go out because only you know how to price a job properly. A key client relationship goes quiet because the relationship was really with you, not the business. Decisions over a certain dollar figure sit untouched because nobody else has the authority or the confidence to make the call. The team does its best, but its best without you starts to look different within a couple of weeks. None of that is a criticism of the team. It's a description of a business built around a person rather than a system, and it's exactly the condition that turns a forced exit into a crisis instead of a manageable transition. Contrast that with a business where the owner disappearing for 6 weeks is genuinely survivable. Quotes still go out because pricing logic is documented and someone else is trusted to apply it. Client relationships are distributed across more than one person, so the business isn't standing on a single point of failure. Decisions have clear thresholds and clear owners, so day-to-day operations don't grind to a halt waiting for a phone call that isn't coming. That business isn't just more resilient to a forced exit, it's also worth more, easier to hand over to family, and far less stressful to run in the meantime. The work that makes a business survive a crisis is the same work that makes it sellable, transferable, and lighter to carry day to day. It's not 2 separate projects, it's one. Why this matters even if you're nowhere near retiring, it's tempting to read all this and think it's a problem for owners in their late 50s and 60s eyeing an exit in the next few years. The sudden departure statistic says otherwise. 40% of owners who went through an unplanned exit weren't necessarily near retirement when it happened. That reframes the question for every owner, regardless of where you sit on a 5-year timeline. Not when am I planning to leave, but if I had to leave far sooner than planned, what would actually happen? A place to start this week. If the 6-week thought experiment above made you uneasy, that unease is useful information, not something to push past. A few honest questions worth sitting with. Who else in the business could quote a new job at the right price without checking with me first? Which client relationships exist because of the business and which exist because of me personally? If I couldn't be reached for a decision over $5,000, would that decision get made or would it just wait? Have I actually told anyone what my plan is, or is it still only in my head? That last one matters more than it looks. 19% of owners planning to retire haven't discussed their exit with a single person. A plan that exists only in your own head isn't a plan the business can act on if you're suddenly not there to explain it. Take the exit readiness assessment to see where your business actually stands before circumstances decide the timing for you.